I'm Dr. Renese Garcia. I'm up in Northwest Louisiana. I got the first device around the middle of December, and the first person I used it on was myself. I've been suffering with the most painful medical condition known to science, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, more commonly known as complex regional pain syndrome. Normally, the problem with this disease, this pain disease, occurs in the front part of the spine at the ganglion, but mine is non-sympathetically mediated, so it's lodged in my brain. So the first thing I did was I used the device on my head. That night, I slept for 8 hours, and I haven't slept. I've had this disease for 20 plus years. I haven't slept 8 hours in probably close to 40 years. So sleeping for 8 hours was just unbelievable. It was amazing. It was wonderful. It was such a treat.
But before we get started, folks, make sure you hit the pause button. Okay, go down below. There's a Rumble link. Go over to Rumble and follow us over there. QFS1776.com is, without question, the holy grail of what's to come. Okay, T-shirts. You got to get yourself decorated. This way people will ask you, what is XRP? What is the quantum financial system? What is this? What is that? And you send them where? To QFS1776.com, where they need to immerse themselves, because we're going to burn down this system down to the ground. And out of the ashes will rise the phoenix. There'll be nothing to go back to. Believe me when I tell you that. Unified TV will take over Netflix. We're bringing in the next genre of movie producers and storytellers and actors and actresses. And we're telling the story of how the world is going to be on earth as it is in heaven. Jasara Nasara is coming. Don't make no mistake about it. Gold and silver right down below. Promo code Mel Carmine. Make sure you use the promo code. Almost $8 billion in sales. We're direct to like a bunch of mints. We are the ones that can get you the gold and silver directly to your door, okay, at the cheapest price. Don't even waste your time looking for a cheaper price. It doesn't exist. Also, our Telegram groups down below. If you want to learn what's coming and you're sort of a little scared, I understand. Believe me, I was there too at one point. Our Patriots are literally waiting for you in the room. And if you need more than $10,000 worth of XRP or $1 million worth of XRP, you come see me. Send me an email at QFS1776@gmail, and we'll get you as much as you want. 2023, we have Dr. Renese Gracie with us, and she is a chiropractor who has some incredible testimonials on something we sell. This is not a medical device. The device does not heal you. The device only provides the atmosphere so that the body can heal the body. It's the body that recognizes the atmosphere, and the cells go to work, and they do this magical thing of becoming their own doctor. Renese, welcome to the show. I love what it is you got to tell us. I know you got some very exciting testimonials. Tell us what your people are experiencing using the device, etc. Please.
Okay, sure. I'm Dr. Renese Garcia. I'm up in Northwest Louisiana. I got the first device around the middle of December, and the first person I used it on was myself. I've been suffering with the most painful medical condition known to science, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, more commonly known as complex regional pain syndrome. Normally, the problem with this disease, this pain disease, occurs in the front part of the spine at the ganglion, but mine is non-sympathetically mediated, so it's lodged in my brain. So the first thing I did was I used the device on my head. That night, I slept for 8 hours, and I haven't slept. I've had this disease for 20 plus years. I haven't slept 8 hours in probably close to 40 years. So sleeping for 8 hours was just unbelievable. It was amazing. It was wonderful. It was such a treat. I've got pain in both my legs. I've been using it. I've been doing the full protocol and then using it specifically on my legs, especially on the 3 end toes on my left foot that I crushed 3 years ago while adjusting someone on a hydraulic table. They've been in so much pain, burning, and aching for 3 years And in less than 3 minutes of putting this device on my toes, they stopped hurting and the feeling came back. So that was pretty wild, just personally. I used this device on my office manager. I had been treating her for 6 months for a wrist problem. She couldn't make a fist with her wrist and it was in pain all the time. She was constantly wrapping it and icing it. I could adjust it. I could adjust her neck, her elbow, her shoulder, and get her out of pain, but she still couldn't make a fist and the pain would come back within a few days. I used the device on her. The feeling came back. The pain was gone. She was able to make a fist, and I never treated that problem again. I treated it one time and the problem just went away. I've got so many patient stories. Probably the most remarkable one would have to be the one, this lady is in her 40s and she has been obese all of her life, but she got a stomach sleeve couple of years ago. She's just been melting pounds since I started treating her and has lost about 150 now to date over the course of about 28 months or so. Because of the overweight, she had type 2 diabetes and was non-insulin dependent. But when I met her, she had already had COVID, recovered from that, but the drugs they used to treat her damaged her kidneys, and she was on hemodialysis at home 5 times a week. 5 times. Dialysis is no fun, and to have to do that practically every day, I can't even imagine. Still has kids at home. I treated her on a Thursday. I treated her back where her kidneys were, and I treated around, I left this part out. She had a wound on her foot that was 6 months old, still the size of a quarter. Her foot was red and swollen. She was limping and couldn't wear regular shoes on that foot. So when I treated her back where her kidneys are, and I treated the wound, I treated around it, never go over an open wound. So I treated around it. I saw her the following Thursday, and during that time, she had been to both her nephrologist and her wound care specialist. The other part I left out, she had gotten hyperbaric treatment to try to help that wound for 2 months, and it had been 2 months since she had had it. It didn't do hardly any good for her at all. So when she saw her nephrologist and her wound care specialist, and then came back a week later after I had treated her and came back, the wound had closed. It actually appeared almost as if someone had done inside sutures on it or sealed it with Dermabond. It was just a perfect straight line where the wound had closed. And her kidney numbers were so much better that the doctors were talking about taking her off dialysis. She's already only doing dialysis at home twice a week now. So she could get off dialysis. And I don't know what else to give credit for that other than the treatment that she got with the Terahertz device.
Well, again, the Terahertz.
There's a bunch of other stories, but those are the most remarkable ones.
Yeah. Again, the Terahertz device is not a medical device. It is a frequency device. It applies the frequency, and then the body knows how to automatically fix itself. So look, we have tens of thousands of these stories all over the world, you know, and we have had several. This would be the 3rd doctor we interview. How long have you been a chiropractor, if you don't mind me asking?
32 years this month.
Wow. Okay. So, and how many patients would you say you have treated in total with the device? Can you show the device if you don't mind?
This is the device. And beware of copies. Amazon has got devices that look exactly like this, minus the word price. They look exactly like this.
And they don't do nothing.
No, they do no, because they don't cover the gap. So when I explain to patients how it works, and you've done a great job with the disclaimer, the way I explain it, this device delivers between 2 and 17 terahertz. And that's what makes it so different. That's what made the science behind what they were able to achieve with this so special, because a healthy living cell operates at a terahertz of between 6 and 11. Diseased, injured cells are well below that. You can, a guy named Reif back in the 50s put enough lenses, he was an optician, put enough lenses together to see a cell close enough, way before electron microscopy, to see a cell close enough to see how it vibrated. And he saw that diseased and injured cells were sluggish. They didn't vibrate the same as a healthy living cell. So his story is completely different, but we've known that for years. So when this device gets to something diseased or injured, it basically, I use the word synchronize. I used to use the word harmonize, but that refers to sound and not frequency. So it basically brings the level of the diseased, injured cell's frequency up to that of a healthy living cell. And since structure and function, anatomy and physiology, the way something looks and the way something behaves are so closely related, if you make a cell's function that of a healthy living cell, then how is it going to operate? It's going to operate like a healthy living cell. We've got cells in our body dying and needing to be replaced all the time. Every cell dies at a different rate. So when those cells are operating as healthy and living, they're doing the job of taking in nutrients and getting out toxins the way they should be. And that's where this device also comes in terms of drinking structured water. You want me to talk about that?
Please, by all means.
Okay. So a water molecule, most people know H2O, 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. Basically, that arrangement is for the 2 hydrogens to be here and the 1 oxygen here. And they're almost in a pyramidal or triangular configuration. Now, keep in mind, that is not a static arrangement. Those little bonds in the hydrogen are constantly pulsing and moving. But basically, their average alignment is that of 2 here, 1 here, a triangle. So when you put a bunch of molecules together, they cluster in their triangular pyramidal form. It's a cluster. When water is treated with the terahertz device, something really cool happens, especially if you put in just a pinch of salt or some trace minerals. It can be table salt. Himalayan sea salt is better. And what that does is it provides the water with more ions. And when the frequency hits the water, it actually stretches the hydrogen bonds such that even though they're pulsing and moving constantly in and out of arrangement slightly, instead of that arrangement being more consistently averaged as a triangle, the arrangement is more consistently averaged with the 2 hydrogen bonds way together on this end and the oxygen over here, so that it's referred to as linear. It's not a perfect straight line, but it's a lot more linear than it is clustered. So that when we drink the water and the water gets into our fluid and gets to the cells, water normally travels across the membrane through something called an aquapore, just a little passage in the cell membrane. Well, when water isn't structured, it gangs up around the cell membrane in a cluster and waits its turn to go in. When water is structured and more linear, the molecules are more linear, then they're more easily able to just zip right through into the pore, through the pore into the cell, and do the same thing getting out. So they superhydrate the cells, structured water does, and they also help get the toxins out more readily because it's easier for the water and its accompanying toxin to get out and get taken out where it needs to through your organs of excretion, which are the large intestine, your urinary system, and your skin. A lot of people don't realize that the skin is an excretory organ. It's the largest of our organs. Most people don't even know skin is an organ.
That's true. Now, how much salt would you say to add to, let's say, a gallon of water before you charge? I know we charge our water typically 30 minutes.
Yeah, and that's good for a gallon. And another thing, people should be drinking a gallon of water a day. Most people don't.
How much salt would you say?
I've never treated a gallon. I just treat several glasses during the day. I've never treated a gallon.
You say like,
It's
like
a
a half
pinch
a
of salt
teaspoon?
for a, pardon?
A half a teaspoon?
I would think so. It's barely, you don't even taste it. It doesn't make the water taste like salt water.
Gotcha.
Now, I actually do use trace minerals. I found a liquid trace mineral on Amazon that I like very much, so that not only is it providing ions, but while I'm drinking the water, I'm getting all of these really fabulous minerals that I need. Most people don't realize that there are minerals that our bodies need that we don't get from the foods we eat anymore. We have less than, I think it's about 2 or 3 inches of topsoil in our breadbasket region where all of the agricultural things are. We used 100 years ago, we had several feet of topsoil. So when farmers fertilize and give the soil what the plant needs to grow into a pretty, big, beautiful, whatever, they're only thinking about what the plant needs. They're not giving the soil what the plant needs because we're eating it. And one of those minerals that we don't get anymore that we used to is silver. Silver is very important. It's an antibiotic, an antiviral, an antifungal, an anti-mold. It'll kill just about anything. So getting silver through trace minerals in structured water is really good.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because we're actually about to launch a product here in the next few weeks, which is a reverse osmosis, but it's not really a water filter. It works on the same premises or the same laws of physics, if you will, as the sun. It's like if the sun is beating down on the ocean and the water is accumulating inside another contraction, that water that is accumulating inside that contraction is completely purified, distilled water. And yes, you would have to add minerals to it, which we're going to have minerals that you can add to it, etc. And because when you buy a water filtration system, when you filter your first 50, 60 gallons, that filter is not the same as when you started out. So
exactly, it's gunked up.
Yeah, this is the most pure water you can get on planet Earth, and you're going to be able to put the trace minerals in, and you will stay healthy. Water is definitely the most important.
I've always loved water. That's what I paid to drink. That's the best water you can drink is reverse osmosis water.
Absolutely. So
it's just not easy to find. You got to make it yourself most times.
Absolutely. And so before and after, how much are you charging your water typically on an average basis?
I'm only an 8-ounce glass. I do it for 3 minutes, which is probably more than it needs.
Right.
And it's supposed to hold the charge. I don't think
24 hours.
Really know for sure based on any studies, but it's supposed to hold the charge for up to 48 hours. Is that about what you've heard?
24 is what I do. I try to consume it within 24 hours.
Yeah, I wouldn't go. And if you're charging a gallon, you need to drink that gallon in a day anyway. Exactly. So, you might as well just drink a gallon a day and start over every 24 hours with a new one. Right.
So do you have the bazooka big one for the office, and that one is for the
home?
No,
I don't. I don't. And interestingly enough, I've been using this personal one to treat people, and it's now I will say that at the clinic we have 2. I've never had it. It's supposed to it'll shut itself off if you've been operating it for more than I think 90 minutes nonstop, to avoid blowing its circuit. I've never had one go off on me, but we've got another device in the clinic. If one did, the other one's there for my use.
Okay, so you have a backup. That's awesome.
I got a
And-
backup. Yeah.
So your clients obviously are starting to get the benefits. What is their feedback when they talk to you about what you're doing? What was their reaction when you first showed it to them? Say, hey, I'm going to use this blow dryer on you that's got, some fancy crystals, maybe not from around here, et cetera. What was their reaction like?
It was positive, but I have to say that, like one patient said, I said, I've got something new. She was standing up. I want to try it on you. And she threw herself face down on the table, looked over her shoulder and said, whatever it is you got, Dr. Darcy, I'm down for it. Do what you do.
Interesting.
So my patients are so used to trusting me and being excited about anything that I do. I've got a technique that they call voodoo because it's an energy technique, bioenergy synchronization. And so some of the patients have come to call this my magic wand. Some of them call it the God wand because it's operating off God's frequency of life. But nobody ever hesitated. And I, like I said, they know me. I've been doing this a long time, and most of them have known me for a good long time. And they're ready to trust. They know that if I've got it, that I've done my due diligence on it. And because of the work that Rife did that I heard about in school, it's not the same, but he created a frequency. So
Wow.
We've known that frequency is good for years. The book about him was called Rife, the Cancer Cure That Worked, past tense.
Wow.
But, and this is why I think that the Rife company is calling these things, I've got my own theory about it, calling it a hot air blower instead of calling it a terahertz gap frequency device. I think they're trying to stay under the radar, because what happened to Rife was he was invited to a Berkeley symposium of medical doctors and presented his findings, and they were all super excited. But within just a few months after that, his home with most of his research was burnt to the ground, and his car went off the Pacific Coast Highway. He was killed.
Yeah.
So
didn't they also put him in prison, I heard, for some time?
I believe so. But he faced charges anyway. But yeah, it's going to be a very hard thing for, as it always is, for most devices, supplements, whatever, to fight against big pharma. If it's not something they're earning money off of, then it's no good. And and at the same time, there are a lot of things out there that people claim do things. And that's why I did a lot of, when I heard about this, I was excited because I knew about frequency treatments and how well they work. I didn't know as much about terahertz, that specific frequency, and more specifically the gap. So I read up a lot, and I was reading, I've been reading, science papers, stuff from PubMed, and the results of what they're seeing are just amazing. They know that it's actually doing the things that the people that make this device say that it does. And the people that make the device, I think most of their findings are simply anecdotal, like my own. They've just got the experience of what it's been doing for people.
Well, there's just too many people at this point with too many incredible testimonials, just like yourself. And I'm sure we could probably do a 2-hour podcast with all the different testimonials you have from your office. So in your office, do you have, like, let's say, like a big jug with 5 gallons of glass, whatever, contraction with a little nozzle on it that you blow the water for a period of time, so that your patients can drink the water that's charged while they're there?
I have I think it's Music Mountain water in the kitchen in our little break room. And I have a staff member use the other wand. It's just one patient at a time. We get a little glass and put the water, 8 ounces of water in with a little bit of salt for that patient and have them drink it before and after the treatment. And
Gotcha.
a few patients, I've got a patient with lupus that ordered a device. A lot of my patients aren't in the socioeconomic realm of being able to afford something that's $380, but the ones that are have gotten a device. I got to tell you, when I heard about this and said that I wanted one, in my head, just ballparking, I thought this device was going to be somewhere between $700 and $1,200. The fact that it was doing what it does and was only $380, well, $350 back then, blew my mind.
Yeah, no, it's reasonably priced. People don't realize that if you go to a doctor who's prescribing medicine, except for masking the symptom for temporary relief, and then, it wears off, and then next thing you know, you got, 4 or 5 reactions, or what do you call those?
Side effects.
Side effects. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah,
for. Right?
that require
Exactly.
another drug to be written, another prescription. I was a Navy corpsman, and so I worked in the medical community. I was a Navy corpsman, an Air Force medic, and an Army medic. So I worked in medicine for several years. And when I was in undergraduate school, I worked for a medical doctor. That medical doctor, because he knew how well trained I was, he never put his hands on anybody. I did all the work and then brought the patient into his office. And what he did was he sat behind a desk, wrote out a prescription, and pushed it across the desk to the patient sitting there. The patient leaves, comes back in a week. They've got side effects from that drug. So he writes them another prescription. And that's just the way it goes. There's really no art in what they do, because the prescription they write you for, you could write somebody for nausea about a dozen different prescriptions. What's the art in what they decide? They decide based on what pharmaceutical company has been giving them the most goodies that week or month.
Yeah. And then by the
That's
time
pretty much what it comes down to.
And by the time it's all said and done, you're on 17 different, drugs.
And a lot of Americans are. A lot of Americans are taking anywhere between 10 and 20 prescription medications
Per day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 10, either however they're prescribed, but they've got a prescription of between 10 and 20, at least a dozen, most people.
Well, that's why when you talk to them, there's like nobody home. It's like you're talking to a zombified human being that makes no
if
no
they've
sense.
got that kind of side effect, and at the very least, their bodies aren't functioning the way they should. There's absolutely no way you can put even one medication in someone and predict the effects of it on their chemistry, because that person is a unique individual. When you put 2 medications in patient A and the same 2 medications in patient B, you can't say what's going on in those 2 people, because this person is different from this person. So the more you start adding, the more you start making their biological functions totally unpredictable, 100% a guessing game as to what's actually going on inside them. And chiropractors have known this for years. That's why I tell patients, I'm going to treat the problem. Pain is not a problem. Pain is a symptom. Pain is your body's way of telling you something's going on. It's not the something going on itself. And to treat the pain is a lot like putting a piece of tape over your check engine light when it comes on, instead of taking it to a mechanic to find out why it's on, fixing that, and lo and behold, the light goes out. If you just put a piece of tape over it, the engine's going to burn up. And that's what's happening to people all the time. They're shutting down their bodies, telling their bodies to stop sending out some symptom. And the symptom is there, trying to get their attention to do something about it. And giving it a drug is just putting a piece of tape over the check engine light.
Absolutely. Well said. Dr. Renese, I had an absolute pleasure having you on board. I know you're probably going to have a lot more exciting testimonials as time goes on? Would you consider potentially coming back on in the future?
Absolutely. I want to say this, every single person I've treated has had a positive response. Everybody. Not one single person had a negative or a zero reaction to the treatment. So I will definitely have more stories as time goes by.
Perfect. And if you guys want to know more about the device, there'll be links down below, etc. And we'll get your device over to you if you want to become a distributor and you want to make a couple of dollars, because, you know, chances are that if you treat somebody and they drink the water with a little pinch of salt in there and their pain goes away because the device is providing the atmosphere so that the doctor inside your body could be reacted and goes to work to fix the body. It's your own body fixing the body. When that happens, that person's going to get excited and they get what I call lubricated lips. They're going to want to tell somebody about it. And by default, you could be in business making money instead of sitting, oh, I ain't got no money. I don't know how to make money. See, you better start asking the right questions. How can I make money? How can I make that product work for me? Can I introduce this product to everybody so that I could turn it into a business? If you start to ask the right questions, the right things start to happen. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Stay behind for a second. I want to talk to you off camera. Thank you. Make sure you spread this out there.
Okay.
I'm sure every single one of you know somebody who is in pain. Thank you.